What's up, everybody? This is Raphael Garcia back for another edition of the MMA Ratings Hangout. Now, before I start talking about our glorious sport, I need to forewarn everyone. I am dealing with a little bit of a sickness here, so probably hearing my voice. You may hear me sneeze every now and then. You may hear me cough up some phlegm, but keep listening because I'm going to keep talking about our sport. So, yeah, ignore me if I have stuff like that. Ignore me if I sound sick, but obviously I am 100% sick right now. So let's talk about some MMA action from this past week. What did we get to see? UFC Fight Night. We had a pretty mediocre card overall. Excuse me, but we got an excellent main event from Frankie Edgar and Uriah Faber. As I mentioned last week, I was super excited about this fight the minute I heard it was announced. So, and I got to give why I expected to get 25 minutes of action. I had picked Edgar to win this fight. He did so in like dominating fashion too. Like he basically controlled every aspect of the fight. Faber had his moments. He definitely had a pretty good submission opportunity in there. He had his moments. He was in some of those scrambles, but Edgar was just too efficient in every way, shape, and form. A I think we're seeing the best version of Frankie Edgar we've ever seen in his career. I definitely see all these pieces about him being more determined and more committed to winning a title, and it looks like he's doing everything that he needs to get done in order to do so. He's definitely going above and beyond every fight. He's dominating his opponents. I can't. The last person I think who won a round against him was maybe Charles Oliveira, and that was a couple years ago. So Edgar is doing what he needs to do to win these fights, and to demand a title shot. He mentioned during the post-fight press conference that he thinks he's next in line, and I can agree with that. The only way I could see that not happening is if McGregor was to win the title in controversial fashion, then I expect them to go directly to a rematch. If McGregor wins, period, I expect him to go to some sort of rematch against Aldo just because he's been a dominant champion for so long. But Edgar's right there. He deserves to be considered the number one contender ahead of Chad Mendez, and he just deserves that title shot against Aldo again. Will it come? I'm not sure. I think they definitely have to sort out all the situations with Conor first, but once they sort that out, and if Edgar stays active and keeps winning, I expect him to be right there in the title picture. For Faber, he can do whatever he wants. He's a star in the sport. He's 30. I think he just turned 36 actually. He's a star in the sport. He can fight a featherweight, he can fight a bantamweight, he can do whatever the hell he wants. He's earned that position. He's a Hall of Famer in my book. He's the first Hall of Famer when it comes to MMA. So I am, and I'm a fan of his. So I would definitely like to see what he does next. I think he stays at featherweight. That's kind of what it sounds like from the press conference afterwards, where he's getting kind of tired of the weight cut, the bantamweight. So I won't be surprised if he stuck around at 45 and just kept doing this thing there. That is where he cut his teeth, where he became the most famous. So I won't be surprised to see him do it again. He's so much better than everybody else. And this is his first time losing in a non-title fight. So, excuse me. So that says a lot there. It's his first time losing in a non-title fight, and he's definitely one of the best competitors that the UFC has on their roster. Another interesting thing I was thinking about with Edgar is I say he doesn't want to wait for the title shot at 45. What if he dropped down to 135? What could he make that weight? I wonder. I've often heard about a rumor, once maybe last year, that the UFC tried to offer Edgar a title shot at bantamweight, which would have been interesting. See if he can make that drop and to see if he can still fight effectively there. He would be, another opportunity for him to become the third man to hold a title in two weight classes. But you never know, he may be able to make it the first man to be able to hold a title for three. The only individual who's ever, he's only fought for two titles. But yeah, I would be surprised if that fight ever came up. But it's still out there. It's still a possibility. The co-main event saw Gegard Mousasi defeat Costas Philippou by unanimous decision, and I thought that's kind of how that fight was going to go. Costas is a great boxer, but Mousasi is that much better. He has a very technical and very efficient striking game, the type of game that is meant to stifle aggressive opponents, just like it stifled Costas throughout their fight. Wasn't too surprised with what I saw here. Mousasi was saying in the press conference that he wants to fight Michael Bisping. He thinks he's like 2 fights away from a title shot. And I can agree with that. He had that loss to Jacare, but he's been doing pretty well since. So yeah, I would definitely put him maybe 1 or 2 fights out. People often forget about how good he is because he's so quiet, he's so stoic. But he's a former champion for a reason, former Dream and Strikeforce champion. And I think he just had a bad performance against Jacare when they fought last time. He does have that win over him as well. So there's definitely some value for him at 185. I hope he stays there. I hope he. I would like to see that fight against Bisping. This is another very technical boxer who I think would be able to create a good style matchup against Mousasi, and that would be a pretty interesting fight to me, especially if they do it over in Europe, do it in London with both guys, not in London, excuse me, but somewhere in Europe where both guys have the same value. Mark Munoz, man, he went out on top. A lot of fighters try to walk away from, like we see it with Josh Koscheck right now. They try to walk away from the sport under their own terms, but they're struggling to get that last win in the cage. And Munoz did what he needed to do. He announced his retirement well before this fight was planned. Um, Shut down his gym. He basically tied up all of his loose ends and got to the cage one last time. He fought and defeated a very tough Luke Barnott. He took a unanimous decision win and had a very emotional speech in the cage afterwards. It was something also that you don't, in whatever combat sport it is, boxing, kickboxing, MMA, yes, you don't really see a lot of guys walk away under their own terms. So to see Munoz be able to do that is definitely worth the time. Never really been a big fan of his, but this is that was a moment I was glad I got to see. Neil Magny was probably the most surprising performance of the night. He definitely earned the performance bonus too as well when he knocked out Hyun Guy Lim in the second round of their fight with via TKO. This was probably the most compelling fight on the card to me, just because I saw so many people picking this Magny, expecting him to wilt under Lim's pressure. I wrote a piece of Bleacher Report earlier in the week talking about what does Magny have to do to get some respect. And it just seemed like the comments, it seemed like a lot of people didn't respect him because he was clearly going to win, but he wasn't finishing a lot of guys, which, I always rally against. I think it's a stupid reason to hold anyone back when it comes to opportunities because, a fight is a fight, and if you win via decision, that's just as important for me as winning via submission or winning via TKO. Did you get the win? That's the only answer. We don't hate on basketball, football, or baseball games where the guys win by 1 point or they have to win in overtime. So why are we penalizing these fighters for winning via Is it still a way that they can win the bout? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's another rant for another day. Lim was he's a very aggressive fighter. He comes in, he looks to finish guys off. And that's been his MO since being in the UFC. This is his second loss. But everybody else, he's just like crushed. He's crushed under his pressure. He's crushed under his ability to drive forward. But this time, Magny had something for him and was able to finish him off. For Magny, I definitely think this is a big win for him. It should for him. He's ranked number 15 right now. I think this won't be enough to get him into the top 10. I expect to see him around 11 and 12. But you should definitely expect to see some big fights coming up. I think this is a big key win for him, and I want to see what's next for him. He's on a 7-fight win streak now. He won 5 times in 2014. He fought once earlier this year. So this is 7 straight wins for him, and the UFC has to start paying attention. Matt Brown did the same thing, where he won 7 straight fights, and all of a sudden everybody started clamoring for him. But again, there's that opinion coming up because he was finishing guys that his wins were better, but still. I'm very impressed with what Neil Magny did, and I want to see him compete again. Cause I'm looking forward to his continuous improvement. Philippe Nova got his first win in the UFC. Now, see, this is cracking me up because everyone knows Philippe Nova from that lightweight Anderson Silva comment, but I did not know he had never won in the UFC until this weekend. So he got his first win. Um, he was cut from the promotion 5 years ago. He's the Ultimate Fighter finalist. I think he lost to Efrain Escudero back then, but Supernova got the win. He defeated Hugh True Nam via split decision. It was a good fight, a lot of back and forth action. I was actually looking at the scorecards for this fight, and I believe Sherdog thought that Nam was enough to win instead of Nova. But there's something worth going back to watch. It was a good fight. I definitely enjoyed it from start to finish. So there's something to take away from there, viewing action wise. So that was a pretty good fight too. Nivan Makashvili defeated Mark Adiva. I can't pronounce that name. Via split decision. This is another good one too. And what stood out to me here is that looking at the pre-fight information I could find on this card, everybody was thinking Nivan to win, and most of the pundits I looked at had Makashvili winning by stoppage, whether it be TKO or submission. But this fight was a lot tougher than it looked. Maybe with him being uh, him being the what's the word I'm looking for? Being the, I guess, the away team, I guess, because Adiva, I believe, is from the Philippines, but him not having the hometown crowd behind him may have played a part in it, but in the way that the judges saw the fight. But he definitely had a tougher fight going forward than a lot of experts expected from him. And he also won me $200 in my uh, eliminator pool, so I appreciate you for that, sir. But still, he had a pretty good showing. John Tuck defeated Tae Hyung Bang. Let's see who else. What else was interesting from this card? Jing Liang Lee defeating Diego Lima via knockout. I think this will be last time we see Lima in the UFC. He hasn't looked good at all. He hasn't looked he hasn't looked like he wants to be in there. He looks like he looks under the pressure, and he was definitely stopped in vicious fashion on Saturday. Royston Lee as well. He's another guy that it was odd that a lot of people think that the UFC wanted to really promote this guy. They really wanted to push him to something great, but he was stopped as well in the first round, second round, via TKO stoppages, via punch and elbows by Yang Yu. So that was probably like the biggest news points I took from last night or yesterday's action news because it was during the day. The main card started at 10 o'clock, so I was able to get in some good views there. But overall, it is a pretty decent card. You're not going to get a lot of surprising, action out of every single event, but it was a pretty good card. The main event was definitely worth it. If you haven't seen it, go check out Fight Pass. If you haven't, I'm sure you can find the fight somewhere on the internet. It was definitely good for me to watch. I enjoyed it from start to finish. Let's see. There was a Bellator event on Friday in which Brandon Halsey defeated Kimball Grove. Brandon Halsey is an interesting guy. He's an interesting prospect to me. As I said, he's looked good since I first saw him a couple. I think it was like maybe 2 years ago. I saw his first fight. For the first time I saw him fight, excuse me. But he stopped Kimber Grove in the fourth round of their fight. However, the middleweight belt is still up for grabs. I'm not exactly sure why. I think it may be like a weight issue or something like that. But the belt is still vacant as of right now. But he looked very good in his fight last night. He did what he needed to do, or Friday night, excuse me. He did what he needed to do to get the win. Halsey's someone that I think is worth watching. He's 28 years old. He doesn't really get a lot of attention right now, but he's 9-0, and he can win in a variety of ways. He's been submitting guys, knocking guys out, and he's been able to win via decision as well too. So he's someone to keep your eye on. He's been in Bellator since 2013, and man, in those 2 years, he's fought one, two, three, four, five, six. He's fought 7 times in the last 2 years. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another fight in sometime later on this year. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for Brandon Bull Halsey. Eduardo Dantas, he got the win over Mike Reitman as well too. They went to a decision there as well. So Dudu is someone who I was always interested in seeing how he would do in the UFC. He definitely stumbled against Joe Warren a couple months back, and he lost his bantamweight title that's now being held by Marcos Galvao, who is a former teammate of his, and he has a win over Galvao. So it'll be interesting to see if they give him that title shot, see if he can get himself back. But he's someone I've always enjoyed watching. His submission game is excellent. It's very diverse. It comes out a lot of different ways. So keep an eye. Well, I'm not going to keep an eye out for him on him as well, because he's not like a completely newcomer, but he's definitely someone worth watching. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Sickness is getting to me. But that's all I like from Bellator 137. So let's turn the table and talk about what's coming up in the world of MMA. We have one more card this week, and that is UFC 187. Actually, we have one FC is fighting as well as Shinya Aoki. One of my favorite fighters just because of his battling ability. He's fighting this weekend, but that card, I don't know. Let me look at that card real quick. I don't think it has a lot of big names on it other than Aoki. That's funny. I didn't know that there's an MMA competitor named Amir Khan. I looked at it. I was like, who? Wait, what? But it's not the boxer Amir Khan. It's someone else. But that's definitely pretty funny. But Shinya Aoki is fighting on that Friday. Yeah, the 22nd. He's fighting on Friday, and he's looking to push his current streak to the 7. And he's such a dynamo. He's just finishing guys for years. He has 25 submission wins. That's nuts. It's unfortunate that probably won't ever see him compete in UFC. He's 32 years old. We've only got to see him fight on American soil a couple of times. Where he fought Gilbert Melendez in Strikeforce. He fought Eddie Alvarez and Bellator. Both of those guys defeated him. But Aoki's definitely someone that I've always appreciated, and I've always appreciated watching him fight, especially for the way he was able to submit guys left and right. So, if you are into grappling in mixed martial arts, you can catch his title defense on Friday for ONE FC. But as I mentioned, he's not the main show this weekend. Obviously, UFC 187 is set to go down on Saturday from, I believe, Las Vegas. Yep. And I'm sure everybody's well aware of what's going on with this card. Anthony Johnson is now facing Daniel Cormier for the UFC light heavyweight title due to John Jones and his problems. You know, him being stripped of the title for his actions, being basically shunned from the sport for a little while. He hasn't. I haven't seen any statements from him directly. I haven't seen any videos or anything like that from him. That also I have not looked, but I think he does cast a dark shadow over this fight, especially if Cormier wins, because then Jones handed Cormier his first loss pretty handily, pretty dominant. And what does that mean if Cormier is a champion? Jones comes back. Do we take him seriously? How do we look at that? But the UFC had to make a move. They had to remove Jones from the title picture, strip him of his belt, and now this fight right here is what we have to look forward to when it comes to the light heavyweight division. Not too excited to be honest. I would love to see Johnson get the win, just because he has the opportunity. Um, I definitely would love to see him get that win there. So we'll have to see what happens going forward. But I want to see. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I expect this to be a pretty interesting fight. I expect this to be a pretty interesting fight because to see what Johnson's striking ability is going to be able to do against someone who's so dead set on taking him down in Cormier. I wonder if he's going to be able to stop the takedowns needed and be able to land his big shots as we've seen so much in the past. If not, he may be in trouble. If not, he may be in trouble early. But I don't know. This is going to be a pretty compelling fight. I'm going to pick Daniel Cormier just because I think his wrestling will be able to control where the fight takes place. But Anthony Johnson can land some big shots. We've seen it every time he's gotten into the cage recently. He's been able to touch guys' chin and just put them away. So let's see what happens. But again, I want to go on record and pick Daniel Cormier to become the UFC light heavyweight champion. And then the questions will start. When is John Jones coming back? What are we going to see from Jones when he comes back? Blah, 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 blah. You probably have to answer more questions about John in the post-fight conference than about anything else if he pulls out the victory. But again, I'm going to tip my hat in his direction, pick him as a winner. The co-main is Chris Weidman and Vitor Belfort. And again, this is another compelling fight that I don't think is getting a lot of attention. Um, haven't really seen it promoted too well. The whole card, actually, I haven't really seen it promoted well at all. But Weidman has a tough test on his hands in uh, Vitor. So a lot of people are picking Weidman to win this fight. But Vitor the um, can definitely take the title. He can take it in violent fashion. He can win this fight via submission. He can win this fight via knockout. So I'm really interested in seeing this fight, seeing what goes down when these two guys get in the cage. Donald Cerrone against John McDessie. He's fighting McDessie on short notice because Khabib Nurmagomedov is injured. I expect Cerrone to take this fight here and be named the number one contender. However, he's already lost to Raphael Garcia, so not truly sure that fight really excites me. I would watch it just because I watch Cerrone and Garcia anytime that they compete, but John definitely shouldn't be a tough challenge for Cerrone coming into this fight, especially coming into it on short notice. Andre Arlovski and Travis Brown. I expect Travis Brown to take this fight via knockout. We've seen Arlovski's chin problems, even though he's kind of been through a career second win right now. He's been doing very good since joining back into the UFC, but I don't expect him to beat Travis Brown at all. Um, Hold on, this one. We have Joseph Benavidez and John Moraga. That's going to be a good fight for me there. I expect Benavidez to get that win. And it sucks because both these guys have been have been defeated by um, Demetrius Johnson. They're both capable flyweights, so it should be a good action-packed fight. A lot of back and forth exchanges. I expect Benavidez to get the win there. Um, John Dodson is finally making his return from knee injury against Zach Bukowski, and this is another very compelling fight. A lot of people are down on the flyweight division, but these are two great fights in the division that'll help kind of sort things out. I expect Dodson to get the win here, but Bukowski is a former Bellator champion, and I would not be 3 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he can kind of tie returning Johnson up for two of those and avoid that big KO power. So I'm looking forward to that fight too. My pick is going to be Dodson there, but I'm looking forward to that. Dong Young Kim and Josh Berkman. I'm going to go with Dong Young Kim. I think he's the better fighter of the two. I think let me check him real quick. He had that. He was ridiculously knocked out by Tyron Woodley last year, and this is his first fight back since then. But this is someone's game of being able to stifle guys. So I expect him to get the win this weekend and stay a viable name in the division. Raphael Natal and Uriah Hall. I'm gonna go with Uriah Hall on that one because Natal has always struggled with big hitters. Rose Nama Jabuna, whatever. Never say her last name. But I expect her to win. Mike Pyle and Cody Covington. Going Mike Pyle, Leo Kuntz, and Islam Makatavov, whatever. And Justin Scoggins and Josh Stampo. That looks like a good fight there. I'm gonna go with Justin Scoggins in that fight too as well. So UFC 187 is a strong card. I saw something the other day. People were complaining about this fight card as well too. I'm just sick and tired of hearing people complaining about good cards. This is a very solid event from top to bottom. You have two title fights, two excellent flyweight fights, a good heavyweight bout in there thrown in there as well. So it should be a lot of destruction, a lot of good battles this weekend coming from Las Vegas for UFC 187. So some other news bits were, we got to see, excuse me, my code is flaring back up. So boxing last night, we got to see GGG and Fitness KO Street for 20. Got another good stoppage over Willie Monroe Jr. Last night. He's been knocking guys out. A lot of people are calling for him to fight Saul Alvarez next, which I would be elated to see. I know a lot of people don't talk boxing. I'm going to talk boxing, so I don't care what you think. But GGG versus Alvarez is a fight that I would love to see. It has pay-per-view ramifications. I would pay to watch it. I think one of those guys. They're such big hitters. I don't think it will be a knockout type fight because they're such big hitters. I think they'll both play it safe. But it's one hell of a fight to watch, and it's something that would definitely help set up who's the best in the division after Floyd Mayweather. Another interesting piece of news that came out was the Athletic and Health Performance Program unveiled by UFC this past week. I'm not sure if people really saw that, but Like the new punishments that are being suggested for fighters who fail drug tests is amazing. All right, the Nevada State Athletic Commission revealed that on Friday about what guys are going to get punished with when failing drug tests. Let me see if I can find it real quick to read some of these off. But so, for example, a fighter who fails a drug test because of a muscle relaxant, like a sleep aid, will get 9 months for his first offense and 20 to 30% of first. A fighter who uses diuretics will get 12 months for their first offense and 25 to 35% of their purse. Stimulants, first offense, 2 years, 35 45% of purse. Steroids, first offense, 2 years, 40 to 50% of purse. If you avoid a test, like Juan Louis Silva did last year, first offense, 4-year ban, 50% of your purse. Second offense, lifetime ban, 100% of your purse. So, man, look at this. You're basically in a situation where you get 3 strikes and you're out. And I like what I see. It'll be interesting to see if this is implemented, how fighters will react. People have been saying that they want to see guys get tough on the sport, and that's the definition of tough right there. So well, I hope that is welcomed within the sport, and I hope we get to see some good things come from that. The athlete health and performance plan will be unveiled on June 3rd. Um, talk about that new program. I'm not exactly sure what that will be, but we'll have to wait until the press conference to learn more about that. But that's definitely a big news site in the sport that came out this past weekend. Corey Hill also died on Friday. Not sure. I'm sure people probably remember him for that gruesome leg injury that he suffered while fighting in the UFC. But he passed away on Friday in the hospital in Tampa, Florida. He's only 36 years old. He died from a collapse in his lung. Not really sure. I think it was pneumonia too. Not really sure what the situation was, but he definitely is sad. It's a sad story to hear about anybody passing. He's only 36 years old. He gets survived by his wife and 4 children. So it was a very sad story to hear. I know I heard about it initially on Thursday, because that's when people thought he had first died, but that was not corroborated, and the story came out that he actually passed Friday evening. Yoel Romero has been paired to fight Lyoto Machida at Tough Brazil Final Four, or excuse me, Tough Brazil finale of season four, for season four, excuse me, Jesus. That should be a pretty good card there. That should be a pretty good fight for sure. Romero gets that win, you can expect him to be on the short list of people to fight for the belt. That fight that night also has a good story. Eric Silva, which should be a pretty good one too, as well. Joe Ellenberger, Stephen Thompson have been paired together. Jorge Masvidal is moving up to 170 for a fight. Ed Ruth, I believe I talked about that last week, signing with Bellator. That was, actually, no, it happened on the 14th, but his signing is pretty interesting because he made a direct comment about the UFC Reebok deal and how that kind of helped him make the decision to sign with Bellator because he knows he'll be able to get more sponsorship money than what is available through the UFC deal. I wrote a piece about that for MMA Ratings. You expect that to be up this week, but it's a pretty interesting situation because if they see more talent going away to Bellator, if the UFC sees more talent going away to Bellator for sponsorship opportunities, then they may have to rethink how they got this deal set up. But that was another big story from last week. And then there's Josh Barnett and Roy Nelson set the headline UFC event in Japan. Should be a pretty good fight there. Barnett's coming off of the Metamoris win, so he's kind of winding down his career. So this would be a pretty good fight for both of them. And yeah, that's about it. Not too many other news pieces from this week. Nothing else I really stood out. So again, what I will ask is that you take the time to follow the MMA Ratings team at MMAratings.net. You can follow us, or you can catch the website there, excuse me. Read all of our pieces. Definitely go and rank the fights. They're the only site that allow you to give your honest opinion on the fights from the night or day of. So go up there, rank the fights. Follow me at R Garcia Sports. Follow Michael Ford, Adam Martin, Neil McCarter, Nathan McCarter, excuse me. You can follow all of the team there. Follow MMA Ratings at MMA Ratings.net on Instagram and Twitter, and stay up with us to rank the fight and catch all of the newest opinion pieces about the sport of MMA. I'm Raphael Garcia, and I'll be back once again next week to talk about the sport. Have a great day, everybody.